The morning everything snapped. I was behind the wheel with the lake like hammered steel on my left, the Bluetooth screaming, and my boss melting down in the back seat, 3 calls dropping 4 people talking over each other. And right when I reached forward to lower the radio so she could hear, she cut me down with a glare, and a word I won't repeat, the kind that sits on your chest like a brick. And I just kept my eyes on the lane lines thinking, keep it smooth, keep it safe. Let the storm blow past. But it didn't. Because the storm was the deal. The deal that would keep the lights on at Stratus Forge Labs for more than 12 weeks. The deal with Morita Patel Holdings landing in 90 minutes, with no interpreters, no cultural prep, nothing but panic and pride rattling around a luxury sedan. This is the part where most people expect a big speech or a dramatic exit. Not me. I lowered the partition an inch and said, calm as a surgeon, Ms. Kincaid, what languages do you need covered? And she snapped. I told you to, then stopped mid-sentence like she heard her own voice for the first time. Japanese, Mandarin, Hindi. Maybe Korean, she said. Like a test, and right then, her phone lit up with an international number, timing. So crazy it felt scripted, and I held out my hand, and she hesitated, tried, wrestling with fear, then handed me the phone. Moshi Moshi Morita-sama. I began the way my old mentors taught me: respect first, certainty second, and on the other end a crisp voice cooled the air. I apologized for the tone of past emails, explained. We had paused to honor preparation, not to stall, invited patience while we aligned to their customs. Then a second voice joined in, Mandarin. Patents, licensing stacks, royalty waterfalls. And I shifted with him, no drama, just work. And after 20 minutes of repairing trust with words and posture, I covered the mic and told her quietly. They think our legal language was aggressive, like we see them as subordinates, not partners. We need revised pages by noon, and your first words must be legacy and stewardship, not urgency and leverage. And she blinked like a camera recatching focus. When I ended the call, the car felt like a church, quiet and clear, and she asked, "Who are you?" And I finally said it out loud. Darius Cole, Georgetown, Ph.D., Harvard Linguistics, 19 years, State Department, Tokyo, Beijing, Geneva, D.C. Now your driver, because life sometimes demands humility, That happened. And for the first time in 3 years, she used my name and said, Mr. Cole, please come upstairs. They put me in a navy suit from the executive shop that fit close optics, matter, you know what I mean. And then the day turned into a sprint, an advance meeting with 3 Japanese executives. Ms. Patel's operations lieutenant dialing from a lounge at O'Hare, and a Mandarin-speaking CTO named Dr. Liang, who watched quietly like a man counting cards. I bowed with the right depth, greeted in Hindi, with punctual crispness, angled the seating, so no one's line of sight was blocked by pride or paper, and the temperature in the room rose a degree, not much, just enough to breathe. In the hallway, our own VP of marketing whispered about optics. We can't present with the driver. And I saw Alexandra Ms. Kincaid meet that word in her own head and choose something different. Mr. Cole is our interpreter and liaison. If you have a problem, take it up with me and I won't lie. That respect hit like a glass of water after a long run. The advance went well. We cleaned a clause that would have cost 6 months, confirmed gift protocol that had to be meaningful, not flashy, set a 7 a.m. rewrite with legal. And that night, I worked under the soft hum of the city building, a briefing book like a tray of instruments, pronunciation guides, family histories, the story of Mr. Morita's father rebuilding a machine shop after the war. A note about Ms. Patel losing her first company to a mistranslation in a Mumbai court. Because words don't just inform, they cut, or they heal. At 9 p.m., Mumbai called. Unauthorized access, emergency tone in the voice. I took it in Hindi. Walked the steps, preserved the logs, closed the door, sent the summary with timestamps. Then Berlin rang a partner who'd ghosted us for months, heard we had new international leadership, and wanted back in Guten Abend. Herr Mueller, I said, and penciled a meeting for Tuesday. Yeah, that happened too. Morning came, and the board wanted a show. Glossy firm, shiny card optics. And I gave them something else, answers, camisa seating. By founding date, not revenue gifts from local artisans tied to family history, given with both hands. After business concludes, start on time for Ms. Patel, build buffer, without disrespect. And someone asked where I learned all this, and I told them the truth. From 19 years of mistakes I refused to repeat. The signing room faced the winter lake blue and chopped the table polished like you could skate on it. And when we began, the first hour glided the way good ice does, then it cracked. Ms. Patel checked a note. Eyes hardened. We have a serious problem. Your IP security in Mumbai is weak. This is the same weakness that cost us millions last year. We can't proceed. And I felt the floor tilt. Asked for specifics. In Hindi got them fast, then told the room. We caught the attempt last night, isolated the vector, initiated legal action, and offered to bring the regional director into the room, patched him in, translated live, and watched Ms. Patel shift from prosecution to partnership, because clarity wins arguments that volume never will. Next came Mr. Marita's question, so soft you might miss the blade. Do we understand what a 50-year partnership means? Not money, memory. And I answered in Japanese with a story about engineers repairing a bridge after an earthquake, about learning to say thank you with your hands, not your mouth, about building, so your children don't have to rebuild again. And he nodded an inch, which is like a mile, if you know. Then Dr. Liang pointed to an appendix and raised the kind of patent conflict that ends careers, Mandarin fast layers, and losses. I put our architecture beside the one he feared, transformer backbone that predates their filing similarity in words, not in code, different training regimen, different path to loss. And we walked it side by side, him testing me with the kind of question only night coders ask me, answering, like a man who has stared at a terminal until the sun came up, and his mouth twitched into a smile, a small one, the kind that means we can proceed. 3 hours later, we signed 1.18 billion split equity milestones that rewarded trust as much as delivery. Applause, quiet and honest, and then something I'll see when I'm 80. Mr. Marita stood, bowed deep, thanked me in careful English for cultural and technical intelligence, handed me an indigo-wrapped box with his father's fountain pen inside, lacquer worn by time ink as a promise you can't take back. Ms. Patel offered her card with both hands and asked if I'd advise in Singapore. The CEO looked at me and said, "Your call." And for once, power felt like a door. Someone opened, not a wall, someone held. The celebrations were modest, like we knew luck had helped. But work had carried the weight. The board filed in with half apologies that didn't use the word apology. And Alexandra asked everyone to sit, slid a folder across the table. And in it was the job I'd done my whole life without a title. Executive Vice President for Global Relations, Equity Budget Authority, to build a cultural intelligence unit and hire 20 people worldwide. And my hands shook because pride is one thing, purpose is another. Later, I called my daughter from the office, told her second-year med school was safe, told her her dad was fine, better than fine, and I put 2 things on my desk when I hung up. My old chauffeur license scratched and honest, and Mr. Marita's pen. Humility and honor side by side, so I never forget where I sat or how I stood up. The months after we placed people where they could win, a janitor who used to draft patents in Shenzhen solved a cooling issue. A hotel porter from Rio recalculated a shipping model on his phone. We made a rule in my unit that if someone tells you what they did before this job, believe them, then check, then move them. And Stratus didn't just survive. It learned how to walk into rooms outside Chicago without embarrassing itself. Now here's the part that always lights up the comments. Do I forgive Alexandra for that morning in the car? For the word, for the years of being invisible? And I know some of you will say, forgiveness is cheap when it comes with a corner office. Some of you will say, people don't change, they just get caught. Some will say, I should have walked to make a point. But here's what I know, she did real wrong, then did real work. She listened when it cost her pride. Put her name on the line for mine, gave me the keys to build a team my way, and told the board they could go through her if they wanted to clip its wings. I'm not asking you to give her a medal. I'm saying she let herself be changed, and I chose to build instead of burn. You can call that grace or strategy or both. So tell me this in the comments, and be real, not polite. When someone with power diminishes you and later uses that same power to repair what they broke and make space for you to lead, is that redemption or convenience was staying and building the right move? Or should I have walked and made a statement? What have you seen at work or school or church that looked like this on either side of the glass? Drop your story, share this with the person who still thinks talent only wears expensive suits. And if this hit you in the throat, tap subscribe so we can push more stories like this into rooms that need them. And this week, find one person whose job title doesn't match their potential. Ask what they did before this, then put a little of your power in their hands and see what happens. Ink is a promise you can't take back. Make a good one.